what we can do with Git when the things goes wrong. Okay. And this, I believe anyone who's using not with Git, but with any other version control system, you have faced this issue, right? You accidentally commit some changes to your Git repo, or you accidentally reverted some changes, you accidentally push a file which you are not supposed to push, you accidentally push some secret to a GitHub. How to prevent that, or if something goes wrong, how to revert those changes back. Okay. So in case of revert, okay, the rule of thumb or the rule which I follow is two things. Is that commit is public versus private, right? Did I already push that commit to the public repo? And public repo, I mean github.com or Bitbucket or GitLab. If that is going to be public, I am going to follow a completely different strategy. If that commit is private, private means I haven't pushed it to some of the remote servers, then I'm going to follow a completely different strategy. Okay. So what do I mean by that? So let's go back to this particular repo, right? Okay. And let's add a file called not pushed. So this file is not supposed to be pushed to the GitHub, or I think let's do it other way around. Testing branch. And the way you can check it that we are connected to a GitHub is like to see the branches in which it is connected is git remote -v. And you will see this is coming from this testing branch. Okay. And we already know that using a git branch, we can see that which branch we are in. So let me touch a file called don't push, right? I did a git add, don't push, and git commit. Message is saying don't push this file. Okay. And I accidentally pushed this file to GitHub. Let's come here. And you will see that I accidentally pushed this file. So what I can do now, okay? So like I mentioned, now this is the part of a public history. Okay. Just remember this thing, as soon as you push the changes. So before that, let me show you one more thing. So when you create a repo, let's say new test repo or whatever the name you want to give it to, you have an option to create a public versus the private repo. If the repo is public that we have created in this case, that means your change, just assume this thing that this should be visible to someone else or someone else. The moment you push the code, just come with the assumption that someone else is using your code anywhere in the world. Okay. So what I can do right now, because I have pushed this code to GitHub, where is my terminal? So first thing I can do is git pull, right? To bring those changes from git to, oh, I already pushed these changes, sorry. So I have the same. Now I can see git lg, and I see that I have pushed this file, don't push this file, called this one with a commit message. So the command I can use is called git revert. And what revert will do is going to do the exactly opposite what we have done. It look for the changes, it look for the commit, like whatever the commit we have done, and it do the exactly opposite. It's just going to revert the change. On the top of it, it's going to create a new commit. So if you look at now, we have completely reverted that change. So let me push that and then I will show you. So if you go here, that file is gone now. But if you look at your history, that file is still be there. The file is still be there, but we have reverted the changes. So that's what I'm trying to say. If the file is already been pushed to the remote repo, you should be doing a revert. Revert means doing the opposite of that, but that file now does not exist, but your history should look clean. Okay. There are other ways through which you can uh, completely remove that file, and that I'm going to show you later. But the main point is, if it's in the public repo, just do the revert. Okay. Any confusion? Okay. So let's move to the next topic. So let me touch a new file called test file. I will add that test file. Okay. And git commit -m adding test. And let's say when I was doing this commit, I accidentally typed some of these characters, and I pushed that change. What? What is this? Branch. I edit this file, right? Oh, this file already exists, so nothing to commit. Okay. Touch, let's say new file, git file, new file. Adding, let's say commit message does not matter, but say I accidentally added all these characters to this. Okay. And now I pushed it. Let's say not pushed it, but it is there. And you look at your git logs and you see, oh man, why I have added these characters to this file, or I mean, some cat ran out from over my laptop, and that's why I have this character. So the thing is, you have to how you are going to revert this change. So there's a command called git commit -amend, which will allow you to amend the last commit message. Okay. And if you do it like this, now you see that you have this new amended message. Okay. And yesterday we have seen that the SHA-1 hash that it's create is the combination of lot of factors: the file name, your commit message, all the metadata, who is committing it. So that's why this time it created a completely new hash, E8A, and first time it was 5B, this one. So the point here that using a commit amend, you can amend the last message. So last commit message. In case if you need to commit amend some other message. So for example, I have committed this as a by mistake. I mean this message as by mistake. So in that case, there are some other command through which you can do it. But for the last commit, you can just need to you can just need to use the amend command. Any question related to that?
Can we make changes to the files also with
So
this?
that's a good question. So let me show you one example. We are running out of time, but let me show you this. So this is something which I have faced recently, or let me show you this one, and then I will explain to you. So let's say I was working on one of the Terraform code, and I have touched this file called main.tf. Git add main.tf and git commit -m adding Terraform main file main.tf. Okay. And I was working on something called variables.tf, right? And this is not a Terraform class, so I'm just putting something, adding Terraform Terraform variables.tf. I know this is not a way to do it Terraform. So earlier I created this file called main.tf. I have already committed that to a history, right? At the same time, I have created this file called variables.tf, and I have modified this main.tf. So main.tf is modified. right? We can see it with the help of git tip, right? And we have created this git variables.tf. And this is, I'm telling you, this is the issue that I have faced few days back. Now, there is a command which I haven't spoken so far. It's called -git commit. -m is for message. We are putting that message. It's called A. Let me show you what that command is going to do. So basically, it will look for all the modified file, and in that one go, you don't need to run git add, and then you need to run the git commit. It's just a shortcut. A is for add, and M is for modified. Oh, M is for message, sorry. So let's say I have run this, and I have created this file called main.tf, which is modified, and variables.tf that I have just added. I have committed this change. If I look at here, I see adding Terraform variables.tf file. But if I look at my git status, oh man, I haven't even checked in this file. So I have two options now. Either I can do git add variables.tf, and just to make my commit history look okay, I will say git commit and re-adding variables.tf because I forget to commit that file in the last commit. Or I can do git add variables.tf, and then rather than doing git commit, I can use -amend. And in that one amend, now if I look here, I have this file, and how I can see it, I don't know if I tell you this command, but there's a command called git show. In git show, you will see that now we have this main.tf as well as variables.tf. So to answer your question, yes, we can use git commit amend for these kind of a scenario. Okay. So far we have discussed about reverting a change in Git, right? And I have mentioned about public versus the private. But what will be the case if the changes are still private? And private means I haven't pushed it to the GitHub, right? What are the different ways I can revert those changes? Okay. So for this, let's take a scenario. Okay. And let's say my company, we have decided to move to uh, or try to explore the option for the cloud providers like Azure or GCP. Okay. And my team, they started programming on all those things, like all the APIs and everything, and how we are going to migrate some of the test environment to GCP or Azure. Okay. So let's say I have a file called azure.html. I created azure.css, gcp.html, and gcp.css. Just giving you some examples. So if you look at the Git status, we have these 4 files right now. Okay. And my team is working on that. And somehow someone who is inexperienced, what he does, and I don't know if I told you guys that git add or git support regular expression. So here I am telling it, okay, add anything which ends with HTML. So it is going to add this azure.html and gcp.html. Okay. So I will say git commit -m adding HTML file. Okay. Similarly, we can do it for CSS. Look at this. It will contain both the CSS file and adding CSS file. If you look at our commit history, we have this. We have added this HTML file and we have added this CSS file. Okay. Now I was reviewing the code and I was checked it and I said, oh guys, what you have done? You should keep all the CSS, all the Azure code in one place and all the GCP code in some other place. Okay. So the way you have checked it is completely wrong. Okay. So we have a different kind of options which we can try. So yesterday we have talked about the concept of called working area, right? We have this staging area. And finally, we have this repository. So right now, because I have used the commit command, my changes are in the repository. Okay. So now I'm going to introduce a command called git reset. And git reset works in three different modes. First one mode is called soft mode. Second one is called mix, which is the default mode. And the last one is called the hard mode. Okay. So what mix will do is if I use git reset with this mix command, it is going to bring the change from repository back to the working area. Working area means my laptop where I'm doing the coding. Okay. If I use the soft mode, it is going to bring the changes back to the staging area. I will show you this one. And if I use the hard mode, it is completely wiped out the changes. It will remove the changes from working area, from staging area, even from my laptop. I mean, everything it is gone. Okay. So let's say here I'm not happy at all, right? Because they have accidentally pushed it to like this. So I said, let's go and let's look at this one. So we are on head right now. I mean, the branch pointer, this one, and we need to revert back to this particular revision. So either I can specify revision or the other way to specify it head 1, 2, because I need to come back to this particular version. So I can do git reset. And like I mentioned, the mix is a default one. So I don't need to give this hyphen mix. I can do head tilde 2. Tilde 2 means coming back to the 2 version back. Okay. And if I run the command git status again, you will see that all the files, they are back in my working directory. Okay. Now what I can do, I can put all the Azure file in one commit, adding, let's say Azure here, and I can put all the GCP files in one commit. So now we have all the Azure files in one commit and all the GCP files in one commit. Okay, so it's much cleaner. But let's say someone else in my team who comes in, or some of my senior, and they said, okay, this looks good, but because we are doing a migration to a cloud, this should be goes into a one commit. So basically, I will not agree with that guy, but because he's my senior, so I need to follow that guy. So what I can do, I can again go git lg and 1, 2, and again I need to go back to this one, right? This particular commit. So I again need to do git reset, but this time I will add hyphen soft. And what I told you, soft is going to put the file into a staging area. Now, if you look at git s, you see the files are already staged. Okay, so that means stage means we already run the git add command. So it will save us to run one extra command called git add. So staging area means we already added those files to the git. Now you will say that, okay, what is the advantage of this approach? We can just do the mix one, we can add those files, and we will bring it back to the staging area. So what is the advantage of that? So trust me, like I worked with this a lot because people tend to commit all these mistakes. This we are just thinking in terms of whole files. But in case if you are dealing with hundred and thousands of files, this just giving this soft option is really helpful because your files is already been staged. Okay, so we are on the staging area, and now like that person has mentioned, adding cloud migration file. And now if you look at that, I just have this one commit, adding cloud migration file. And if I go to this commit, hit show, I have all these 4 files: CSS, Azure, HTML, GCP, this. Okay. Now let's take one more scenario. Okay, and promise this is second last, and then we will talk about just one last scenario. So now somebody from senior management, he comes in and he said, okay, uh, just forget about the Azure or the GCP migration. Uh, just completely forget that we even thought about it or think about it. Sorry. We are happy with AWS, and no one in the world should know that we even think about the Azure or GCP migration. So I said, okay, it's fine. We can just do the soft or the mixed reset. And if in future, if we think about this kind of a migration, we can bring out that file. But that guy from the management, he said, okay, no, no, no. We don't even want anyone to know about that we ever even think about this kind of a migration. So I said, okay, fine. So what we can do in that case, we have just added a one commit called head, this one, right? Cloud migration. And we just need to go back to this one commit. So what I can do in this case is called hyphen hyphen hard. And we just need to go back to one previous commit. So now we did the hard reset. And like I mentioned, the hard reset means your file will remove from staging area. Your file will remove from working area. That means all the work you have done is gone. Now, if I do git s, git status, nothing is there. If I do ls, all the file related to that Azure, GCP, whatever the code we have done, all gone. Okay. Now, let's take one last scenario to be promised. Someone from the management again came back and said, oh man, we did a mistake. We thought about it, and we might need to use those, we might need to do some POC on those cloud providers again. I said, it's fine, but we have already deleted the code. So again, I will pause here for a second. And do you guys know that in case of a Git, what are the ways that the file which we have already deleted is to recover it back? So we have already done that. If you look at Git LG, everything is gone. You will not see all those files and everything. How can we retrieve those files back? Exactly, David, reflog. So you see, there's something called reflog, which is called a reference log. Himanshu, restore is not going to help in this case. The reference log is something which is going to help you. Reference log means whatever you are doing with this Git. So for example, we are doing a reset, we are doing this cloud migration, all these things. This is basically a way for us to telling, this is the way how Git is tracking all of our activity. So now you will see in the reference log, we have this commit where we have added this cloud migration file, right? So what we can do is we can just check out this commit. Okay. We create a branch out of it. Let's say recovery branch. And you see all the files are back. And now we can merge this file back to the main branch. Okay. There's one other thing I don't think so we have discussed about it. It's called git cherry pick. So in the cherry pick, you can also pick up that particular revision. Let's say I want to pick this revision where we have this change. So I can particularly pick that particular revision to recover it back if I just want to do it. Generally, I use cherry pick. So let's say uh, I have a multiple branch in my environment, and I know in that particular commit, there is a fix for that particular bug. So I can do the cherry pick. Cherry pick means picking a particular revision out of it. Okay. Before anyone got excited about like reflog is the solution for all the issue. No. So just remember that you need to be on the same computer. So the place where you have deleted the file, the reflog, all these logs will not going to be transferred to the network. And I will show you that if you go to this .git directory, there is a directory called logs. And here it hold all the information. So this reference logs, it will not transfer to someone else's computer. It is just local to your computer. Second thing is, if it is more than 30 days, you are out of luck, because Git something uh, under the hood, it runs something called a garbage collection, which all these commit garbage. So all these commit which has been unreferenced, not been used anywhere else, Git is going to clean up all these commits. Okay, so remember this thing in case if you are trying to recover any of the lost commit. Okay, so this is one thing which we use heavily. In case if you need to do a revert, you are going to use something called a git revert command, right? I spoke about the git commit amend. If you want to amend the message, let me show you something really quickly. We are not going to go in that depth. Let me show you. Okay, git LG. And let's say, let's look at this commit. So it's head 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say I'm not happy with this message, adding Terraform main.tf. So commit amend is just going to amend the last commit message. But let's say I want to amend this message. I want to modify this message. So again, head 1, 2, 3. So I can use a command called git rebase -hi head -3. I must need to be on the git repo. One level up. And here you have the option called R, reword. So here I can even modify this message. So let me show you. I can do reword. Okay. And what Himanshu has mentioned, we can even squash. Squash means, let's say these two commit, I want to put it in one single commit. So I can use an option called squash to squash both the commit into a one commit. I can do the read commit, I can do the edit, I can do a bunch of things. So it's a Swiss Army knife, which is being used carefully. So that's why I didn't show you. So let's say I just need to add a word called reword here, commit and save. Again, going to open a new window for me and adding Terraform main.tf file to, let's say, VCS. Okay. Successfully rebase. And if you see here, you will see this one. Okay. So rebase is one of the way you can do a lot of things, but just really careful before executing this command.